If you're building an Astro site that has user accounts, there's a decent chance that at some point you're going to want your users to be able to upload some images. In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how you can use Cloudinary to make your Astro site accept user uploaded images. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we've got our starter code. We are working from the Learn with Jason Cloudinary site images repo. I'm on the start branch, and you can see here that I've cloned it down. I am on the start branch, and I've opened up the 04 user uploads.astro page, which is where we're going to be working today. So you might note that this site is exporting a const called pre-render equals false. That is because in the Astro config, we have set our output to hybrid. Next, let's add a form that's going to allow users to upload a file. Now, this is a standard HTML form. There is nothing framework specific about this. It's going to use the post method. It is going to accept multi-part form data. And because we're not supplying an action, it's going to submit to this page, and we'll catch that in a second. Next up, we've got a label for our file input, and then the file input itself, which is going to accept any type of image and is required in order to submit the form. Add a submit button, and that is a whole form. To actually handle these submissions, we're going to check to see if the request method is post. A post means that this form was submitted to this page, at which point we can use Astro's wrapper around the form data API, again, built-in browser stuff, to get that image by getting the file. We're going to use as file to make TypeScript happy, and then eventually we're going to have to do something with that. But why don't we go ahead and give this a try while we're here? Let's start up our dev server. And if we head out to our site and go over to user uploads, we can see now that we've got our upload form here. So let's choose a file. We'll use this one here. We upload and we submit. And now nothing happened here. But if we look in our console, we can see that we did get a file, and we can see things like its size, its type, its name, and when it was last modified. So let's go a step further. Next up, we want to actually upload this file to Cloudinary. Now for that to work, we need to have our API credentials. If you've been following along with this series, you already have these saved. If you haven't, you can go check the link in the description to find the rest of the episodes in the series and catch up to where we are now. But also, as a recap, we're just going to take a quick look. So in your Cloudinary management, you can go to your settings, and then under product environment settings, go to API keys. You want your cloud name, you want your API key, and your API secret. So copy this value, copy that value. You can generate a new one if you want. And then in your source code, open up .env and set the cloud name, API key, and secret with their respective environment variable names. So with those environment variables set, we can now move ahead with actually updating this file to upload any submitted images to Cloudinary. We're going to do two things with that. First, we're going to bring in the image component so that we can display the uploaded file as a confirmation. We're going to bring in the Cloudinary package, import v2 as Cloudinary. Then we're going to configure Cloudinary by setting our cloud name, API key, and secret in the config. Then we're going to create a pretty big function here. It's called upload image. This accepts an image, which is a file. This is what's going to be uploaded from the form. Then we're going to do some kind of scary sounding computer science stuff. Stick with me though, because this is the most confusing part, and I promise we'll get through it together. So first, we take the uploaded image and we're going to grab it as an array buffer. That's a way for us to use the data. Then we want this to be an array of unsigned 8-bit integers, because that is how we're going to upload it as a stream. That's the hard part. Next, we're going to return a new promise because the Cloudinary uploader has a success function. We call the upload stream method. Inside of it, we're going to tell Cloudinary that we want to store any uploaded images in a folder. Now, you don't need to supply a folder. You could leave this blank, but it is kind of nice to know that you can go to one folder and see everything that's been uploaded to the app. And then we get this callback function. And if there's an error, we reject the promise so that we know something's wrong. If we get a result, then we want to resolve the promise with that result. And finally, we do .end and we pass in that file data so that we can upload all of that to Cloudinary. Down here, we then want to be able to grab the uploaded file and use that later on the page. So we're going to put it outside of this if so that we can access it later on. Inside of the if, instead of just console logging that image, we want to actually upload it. So we're going to actually call that upload image function we just defined and save its return value, which should be, again, the result, into uploaded file. And if we've got an uploaded file, then we know that we can display that uploaded file on the page. So let's see if this is actually working. We're going to save this. We're going to make sure our dev server is running. And then we're going to head out to our functioning site. And let's see, let's choose a file to submit, and we're going to upload this one. Okay, so it says that it uploaded, everything seems to have worked. So now I'm going to open up my Cloudinary asset management library. We'll open up this uploads folder. And inside of it, I can see that my image just uploaded. Great, so that's running. But we've got a problem, which is that we don't have any alt text. So while we do have uploaded images, they are not accessible yet, and so we're not done. So let's actually look at ways that we could solve this problem. And so we should be making sure that all of our images have alt text. And our users should be excited to provide alt text to make things more accessible for more people. However, in real applications, people get lazy and they take shortcuts. And so we want to make sure that even if somebody does get lazy and does take a shortcut, that we still provide an attempt, at least, at a useful description of the image. And to do that, we're going to lean on a Cloudinary add-on. So in Cloudinary, we have settings, and then we can hop on down here into Explore and add-ons and make sure that this Cloudinary AI content analysis add-on is added. It'll be down here. And once we've got that, we can come back into our uploader. Now in the uploader, we're going to add a few things to improve this. So first, let's go ahead and add detection. So detection allows us to tap into that AI content analysis and do a few things. In our case, we're going to do two specific things. First, we're going to use the LVIS v1 model to try to identify tags and then allow us to add those to our images so that we can identify the major objects in the tag. Then we want to use the captioning detection so that we can get a description that we can use for our alt text. In the case of tags, we want to automatically add any tag where the confidence is over 0.6. Depending on the model, you might want to adjust this. I would say with some of the models, you want that confidence to be up around like 90% before you add it. With LVIS, I found that 60 was about where we wanted it to be. Finally, on success, we want to actually add the alt text. Now, I'm not 100% sure why Cloudinary doesn't include this alt text by default, but I'm sure they have a good reason. So we're going to do it manually. We have an onSuccess parameter, which gives us access to run some arbitrary JavaScript. And what we're going to do is take the current asset, that's the one that was just uploaded, and update it. Then we're going to set the context and the alt text, and we're going to use this object that comes out of detection. So whenever you upload, you get upload info, and then inside of that, there's an info object. We're going to get into the detection, into the captioning, and then the data of the captioning gives us the caption itself. We use the optional chaining so that we don't end up with any errors in the upload if, for example, the upload info fails for some reason. And now that this is set, whenever we upload an image, we're going to have access to alt text in this context object. So we can come down here into our alt and use that context object to get into our custom settings, and we set alt. So we're going to save that. And now let's head back in, upload this file again. And then if we inspect, we can see that our alt text did in fact get set. And if we go back out and we look into our asset library, when we look at our metadata, we can see that the dog tag got added and our alt description got added. So that is Cloudinary detecting the content in the image and using that to generate tags and a description so that we can make our images more accessible and also use those tags for things like grouping and filtering. If you've been following along in this series, we're coming up on the end. In the next video, we're going to look into how we can do moderation for these uploaded images, including a manual approach, and maybe even letting the robots have a go at it. If you haven't been following along with this series, check the link in the description so that you can get back to the beginning and see everything else that we've learned. See you in the next one.